you can have what we call phantom cash flow. It's called depreciation. While we were discussing, we were also looking at profit for the business in terms of depreciation. And part of what we were talking about was that, look, yes, we're going to buy machineries and all that. But can we depreciate these machines faster? Which is possible. That is some sort of money for you. The last one is tax advantages. When you invest, look at the tax advantages. I do tax advantages for some of my clients. And it's a simple thing. In Nigeria, our tax is 30%. But if I'm going to structure a company, I structure a company in what we call offshore jurisdictions, where you can afford to pay no tax. So, if you make a profit of 100 million, by law, you should give the government 30 million. By law. But, you see, maybe in smaller sessions, especially for those who are in business, we'll discuss more about tax advantages. But if you want to invest when you are sure of the tax advantages. In the next slide, investing as learning. This is the only reason I invest, because I want to learn. I'm more interested in the process. The process for me is key. Once I get the process right, I can replicate it as many times as possible. Process is important. You will get burnt. You will lose money. But what you learn, you keep. Invest as a company versus invest as an individual. Today, by the grace of God, I don't own anything. There is nothing today that you will see that they will say, it's Shewan Okoya that owns it. Because my question is, why should my name be on it? I'd rather invest as a company. I'd rather buy things with the name of a company. This is how it works. If I invest as an individual, Lagos State Inland Revenue Service will become my friend. But if I invest as a company, I'll be dealing with FIRS, Federal Inland Revenue Service. And you should pay tax. It's good. However, as a company, when revenues come into the company, the law allows you to, that's before you pay taxes, the law allows you to take off some things. That's why even my laptop is owned by the company. Because the law allows it. So if you want to buy a car, make sure it's your company that is buying it. You are the one driving it, yes. So you might want to invest as a company rather than as an individual. I learned one lesson here. Before I got married, I told my wife, I said, we're going to register this company. You have 50%, I have 50%, you know. But I'm not sure I told her the reason I did it. But this is the reason. When you own everything in a company, your wife is a director, you are a director. You are both signatories to the accounts. You know, some people will say, why would my wife be a signatory? But we're fine with such things. Now, I looked at it. We're setting up a few things, you know, businesses here and there. When we buy assets, we buy properties, we buy lands, you know, all in the name of a company. And I asked myself a simple question back then. When I die, what happens? I'm telling you the reason why I did it. Peradventure, I die. What happens? I've read a lot of stories where, you know, family just come up and I said, okay, so that we don't, you know, before you get to the level of will, you know, probate, all those issues. She's a director in the company. If I die today, the company will continue as if I never existed. So, tactically, we have done transfer of ownership. So, I don't need probate. I do, you know, all those kind of things. No. Because my father is a lawyer. So, I understand what people go through to get some of these things. And when you have worked all your life, you have built businesses, you've had assets, even the fee, the probate fee, is enough. The tax on your entire estate is enough to build another business. So why do you want to afford them such luxury? Risk versus reward. If you are not willing to take risk, sorry, there is no reward. And I'm going to show you a part of that scripture. It says, this was the last servant now. The servant given 1,000 said, Master, I know you have high standards and 8 careless ways, that you demand the best and no allowances for error. That's a good master. No allowances for error. I was afraid I might disappoint you, so I found a good hiding place. Can you imagine? A good hiding place. And secured your money. Here it is, safe and sound to the last cent. The master was furious. That's a terrible way to live. It's criminal to live cautiously like that. If you knew I was after the best, why did you do less than the least? The least you could have done would have been to invest the sum with the bankers, where at least I would have gotten a little interest. This also tells me something. If you have your money sitting in the bank, that's the least you are doing. It's the least. So by burying it in the ground, the master said, why did you do less than the least? That means in terms of investing, the least investment is putting your money in the bank. Finally, the master says, take the 1,000 and give it to the one who risks the most. And get rid of this play it safe who won't go out on a limb. Are you playing it safe? Are you playing it safe? And you know, due to this Naira issue and all that, I met someone who 2 weeks ago, he lost about 200 million. They had bought products. Unfortunately, the price of product had gone down. So, as the product was sitting in the tank farm, he was losing money. Are you playing it safe? Are you a very good friend of Zenith Bank, GTB, and your money is there, safe and sound? If your money is there, safe and sound, I'm glad to announce to you, inflation is eating on it. How long should I invest? Short term, medium term, long term. The truth of the matter is, this is actually based on the skills that you possess. Whether you invest in the short term, medium term, or long term, it depends on the skills that you possess. I was telling someone one day, I said, look, long-term investment, especially in Nigeria, if you are doing long-term plans, should not be more than 1 year. Whatever long-term plan you have, should not be more than 1 year. Because even as at today, analysts are still saying that they are expecting the Naira to get to 300. So you need to determine, if you're putting your money into a business, determine whether you're doing a short-term investment, you're doing a medium-term investment, or you're doing a long-term investment. I'm going to go to a few questions that we should ask before we invest in a business. you'll notice that I'm focusing on investing in a business. I'm not saying you should go and buy shares because I don't understand it. This is what I understand. What they are doing in stock market, I don't understand it. How it goes up, how it comes down, I don't understand it. So, I have an investment goal. Part of my yearly goal, I have an investment goal. So, as a rule, whatever I don't understand, I don't touch. If you like, you say the First Bank shares is now 450 per share. I'll just be looking at you. Because I don't understand what they are talking about. Questions to ask before investing. Can this team deliver based on my investment goals? Because there are no earnings by which to gauge profitability in startups, savvy investors evaluate the management team. Even the best product won't work if it is mishandled by the management team. So you want to look at, before you put your money in a company, you want to look at the team. Who are these people? What's their pedigree? I went to Mr. Bestman one day, and I brought somebody to him, and he has a pertinent question. He said, he was asking the person I brought, have you run a business before? I felt it was a very good question. Have you run a business before? Now, I've noticed over the years that the way employees think and the way business owners think are different. Very different. So, because of that fundamental difference, you might not get access to finance. Except you bring in people on that team who have actually run a business, understand the industry, understand the ups and downs of being an entrepreneur. An employee is comfortable with Ogata, meaning that if my boss sells, if he doesn't sell, my salary will be complete. Another question. Do I understand the industry? Before you invest in a business, know that you are dealing with a myriad of unknowns. And this is the beauty of businesses, the unknown. At the very least, you should familiarize yourself with the industry. Everything from trends, competitive pricing, to the latest government regulations affecting it. There is an industry I'm in that feeds India. But in the next 5 years, a lot of businesses in India are going to either shut down or collapse. And not because they don't know what to do, but because their businesses rely on raw materials from here. So, as more Nigerians are going into that field, there will be no need to take that raw material out. You know what they are doing now? Because they know they have a 5-year span, they are now coming to position in Nigeria. And while they are positioning in Nigeria, Nigerians are still looking. Another question you would like to ask: are my funds protected? Before you invest in a business, be certain that your funds are protected. Ensure that even where you don't get profit from the business, you don't lose your capital. It's double tragedy if you lose both invested capital and profits. So if I'm investing 100,000 in your project, the first thing I want to know is, how is my funds protected? So if your project is 100,000, I want to be a signatory to your account, so that I don't give you my money and the next thing you want to travel to Budukatu Ranch. Standard. So if I'm putting my money in, I want to be sure that you are not taking the next trip. You are not taking vacation on Waka now. So you need to be sure that your funds are protected. And I'm also saying this so that if somebody is telling you to come and invest in a particular project, these are the things you need to ask. Also, if you want somebody to invest in your project, these are the questions you must answer. I always put myself in the position of the person I'm talking to. So I ask all the questions so that when we are discussing, all the issues can be trashed. Is my intellectual capital protected? You know, I've noticed that there's a lot of free advice in Nigeria. Free advice. But I've also noticed that an advice can be paid for. It's an advice. There are companies I work with that if I want to give them an advice, I write it out. It's an advice. I write it out and I bill you for it. So it's not free. I don't live in Freetown. Advice is not free. Before you invest in a business, be certain that your intellectual capital is protected. Ensure that you get considerable equity or profits from the business. Many people don't value or can't place a value on their intellectual capital, hence they lose out. What do I mean? I've packaged a business and I'm saying, Pastor Shola, come and invest. How do I protect myself in such a way that I do not give Pastor Shola the idea and Pastor Shola carries my idea and goes and, So how do I protect it? So before I come and say, come and invest in this, first thing, you sign a non-disclosure agreement that you won't disclose what I'm going to share with you. And because of the terrain in which we are, a lot of people also don't value agreements. You need to keep certain information to yourself. and release it per time as you build trust with the person that you want on board. What should I invest in? Business, real estate. Whether you're investing in business, you're investing in real estate, whatever you're investing in, invest in management, invest in people, don't invest in products. The best products can be mishandled by a wrong team. You'll notice that I didn't put shares inside my list. I've told you before, I don't understand what they're doing. So, wrapping up. Although this session is coming to a close, we hope that your journey to creating your investment principles has started. I'm going to admonish us, please, have an investment goal. The money I have, where do I want to put it? Have a goal. Look, for 2015, there are some things that you will bring to me. The best I will do is listen to you. That's the best. As long as it's not part of the investment goal, forget it. You know, a lot of people, this thing is moving, and you want to move with it. You'll soon be consumed with it. That's why we all should have investment goals. And it's very important. Even if you're an employee, how do you turn end income into investment, income? How many of us wrote goals for 2015? If you have your goals for 2015. Now, I'm going to admonish as many of us that don't have goals for 2015 to go back and put down something that you want to do in 2015. And at the end of it, also put an investment goal. That this year, by the end of 2015, this is what I would have invested in. This is the resources that I would have had. And there is a process to it. There is a process. It doesn't jump on you. The truth of the matter is, the meetings I did that culminated this week started as far back as early last year. And the truth of the matter is, it also started as far back as 2008. Because all I kept doing from 2008 till last year was studying about that industry I was going into. That was all I was doing. I was just studying about it, understanding the dynamics, traveling to places and understanding how this thing works. Before I finally summed up the courage last year to actually register the company and say, okay, now we are ready to go. So, please, investment is a process. If I wanted to do it in 2008, it would have failed. 2009, it would have failed. But I needed enough knowledge, competence, ability to do it for others and see it work because I've done it for someone. So That entire process is what we have brought into 1 week. That has made these people say, okay, we can trust you. So like I said at the beginning, investment is not get rich scheme. It's not a get rich quick scheme. It's not a lottery. It's not a scam. It's a process. It's a learning process. Finally, I'm just going to read some things I got from Harvey Mackay. He says, time is free, but it's priceless. You can't own it, but you can use it. You can't keep it, but you can spend it. Once you've lost it, you can never get it back. From this day that you have heard this, what you do with it is left to you. Napoleon Bonaparte says, take time to deliberate, but when the time for action arrives, stop thinking and go. Don't be a perpetual thinker. Steve Jobs says, your time is limited, so don't waste it living someone else's life. You can do much with less. No matter what you have, no matter how little you think it is, you can do much with less. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Sean. I hope that someone here learned something very valuable. Thank you. I'm not sure everybody understood what he said. You may be seated, but you need to get the tape, and probably if you can find time to ask him or ask somebody. Some of these terminologies may be a little strange for some of us. Well, let me share something with you. Thank you so much. Even if you didn't get anything, one thing very solid, I think, for men is the fact that you need to factor your wife into the businesses you put in place. I mean, that was so simple. And as much as we believe in long life, you never know. People do die often before their time. And he showed us how clearly, just by the structure of your business, you protect your wife and also protect your family. I was with my mother-in-law because while I was in Mina, I can't stay anywhere else but with my in-laws. And she sat me down and she said, she was talking about the fact that at the age of 80, she receives a pension. And she's worked and served in different capacities through her life. But as a civil servant, her pension is 20,000 naira per month. At the age of 80. 20,000 naira per month. And she's not been paid for 5 months. Now, the saving grace, however, is that while she was working, she made investments in certain areas. So even at 80, she has a business that brings in returns. She has property that is out for rent that brings in returns. So with or without pension, she is able to have a source of income because of wise decisions she made when she was 40, 50, 60, thereabout. Now try and imagine that in your old age, what you have is 20,000 naira as pension, and you don't even get it. You go and carry placard to go and demonstrate. And that's what happens when people fail to see the future. Let me tell you this. When I was 25, and I used to meet some of my uncles or people I knew who were 40, I used to say to myself, 15 years is a long time to get to 40. I'm being honest with you. When people celebrated their 50th birthdays, I'm like, wow, I've got 25 years. I have all the time. Next year, by God's grace, I'll be 50. Where did all the time go? Let me not scare you. As I encourage you, was it here? No, it was a meeting I was sharing with them, and I said the KFC franchise, Colonel Sanders, started at the age of 65. Was it 65 or so? 65. So there's still hope for you. But someone said this to me. He said that many years ago, and there's some element of truth to it. He says that by the time you hit 50, you're like the man who is running a marathon and they ring the bell, you know, gadang, gadang, that means your last lap. It's not as scary as that, but there's certain things you don't want to be doing when you are 60. Begging people for contract. You don't want to be doing that. Can you help me? And when your children are getting married, they are looking for contribution. And that's why what you've heard today, you need to take back home with you. Valuable truths that will deliver you from evil. When that prayer was prayed, you think demons are the evil? Deliver us from evil. It means, Lord, give us knowledge so that the evil that is waiting to take a hold of us because of ignorance will not take a hold of us. Thank you again, Sean, for sharing with us tonight. So much has been said, but you can get the tapes and go play it again and again and again. I heard an older friend of mine say this, and I've often shared it in church. I would rather own 1% of $1 billion company than own 100% of $1 million company. What is the shareholding of Bill Gates in Microsoft? It's less than 10%. And that makes him top 5 richest in the entire world. That's a massive company. But look at what he owns. But you know, some of us just would love to. It's mine. And that illustration is powerful. If owning a complete company will give you 7 million in a year, and you let go of 90%, and you're getting over 100 million, that's a good let go. Thank you again. Well, let's receive our offerings tonight. Let's bless the Lord with our substance. But do you know the truth is that we are investors. We truly are investors. Every time we give an offering, we're making investments. Spiritual, we're connecting with the spiritual. But that's not where it ends. God also expects that in the natural, we will make investments as well. And usually that's the missing link. There's just so much that has been said today. The lesser your risks, lesser your reward. My daughter is planning to come for holidays in a couple of weeks from the UK, and she's going to be going back. So I decided to look online to see how much it will cost me to buy her a ticket. And I saw the amount in dollars, and I multiplied it by the current rate in naira. I'm paying 100,000 naira more. The Lord will help us.